welcome to Boardgames with Niramas. I'm Joseph or Niramas and I'm here with Draco. And yeah, we are excited to get into a list of top 10 games for 2 players. Not necessarily 2-player games. Some of these games you can play with more than 2 players. But I like playing games at 2 players. I do it a lot, of course, with Draco, with Martin, and sometimes even on some game nights. Most of the time, though, at the game nights, we're like, more people. We play like 3 or 4 or even 5-player games. But I like 2-player mode because, well, there's only one player to wait for, so there's less downtime. Also, in a co-op game, there's only one other person that I need to agree with on what we should be doing. So sometimes it's just nice to play a 2-player mode. And of course, well, I'm a single man myself, but a lot of people, couples out there, you have a partner or a husband or wife or whatever that you live with. And then, of course, 2-player games or playing as 2 players are a big thing. So it's time to do this list, and also this was the one that most of my Board Games with Niramas voters panel on Facebook voted for top 10 2-player games. There's a bunch of other top 10 lists to come as well, of course, co-op games and theme in games and so on. But this was the one that was most voted for. So here we go, and we start with number 10. So, number 10 is a game called Saya, Legends of a Drift System. And here we can see me playing it with Max. Been a while ago, but we did play, and it was a Draco learns a game. So Draco wanted to learn Saya, and we invited Max to teach him and me. And I really enjoyed this game. I really liked it, especially in a 2-player mode. Now, I think this game could be cool as a 3 or 4-player game as well. The problem is, though, the downtime. There's a lot of downtime in this game. You could be sitting there for 10 or 15 minutes even in some turns just waiting for your turn. Well, it could be interesting to follow along with the other players, of course, but I mean, I like Saya because it's like the space game, it's sandbox, so you can go out and do whatever you want. Basically, you can become a criminal and start smuggling goods around the galaxy, but then the other players could take the role of sort of upholding the law, or even in the expansion there's these sort of neutral, like these AI controlled units as well. So there's a police ship out there that could be hunting you, or you could just do a pick up and delivery game where you just pick up goods for a cheap price somewhere in the galaxy, and then you travel to somewhere where the price is higher and you sell them and you make money, and you can upgrade your ship. You can even sort of in some way sort of buy victory points, and it's a race to whoever gets to a certain amount of victory points depending on how long you want the game to last. Really cool game. I really like basically everything about this game. I love the exploration most of all. You have these big nice tiles, so they look nice, as you can see, and you sort of put them in there, flip them over when you discover a new area. There's this dangers in the galaxy, there's like ice, asteroids going around and all that, and yeah, I just love it for what it is. And been a while since I played it, but I do want to play it again as a 2-player game. So that is Saya, and now let's head to my number 9. And my number 9 is a game called Star Wars Destiny. This is a 2-player game. It plays sort of like most of these, like we have cards that we play against each other, but the thing is also that the cards have dice on them. I'm going to show you a bit here. And so if you have Luke Skywalker, he has his Luke Skywalker dice, so they are all custom dice, really nice. But you also have, let's say you equip him with the lightsaber, and the lightsaber has some dice with it as well, 1 or 2 I guess. And then he has more dice to roll, because when you activate him, then he will roll all those dice and he can assign damage to the opponent and so on. Because you will be playing, one player will be the Rebels, one will be the Empire, and you try to sort of take out those 3 characters that your opponent has. Now this is a collectible card and dice game though, so you need to buy like booster packs to find Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader and all those cool characters. Which I'm not really I'm not a big fan of having to do that money sink of just buying stuff and just lottery tickets hoping to find the right one. So that kind of scared me off from this game, because it came out a few years ago, but I sort of discovered it just a few months ago. and started playing it. I have it on my shelf, and I really enjoy it. I mean, you can buy the starting box, and you can have a lot of fun with that. So you don't need to get all the things for it, because there's like sets coming out more and more, and yeah, I can't really keep up with that. But it's a fun to play game for what it is. And I do like Star Wars, and I like the Fantasy Flight games that made this. It's the same artwork that the Imperial Assault game has. I really like how they do Star Wars artwork. So that is my number 9. Now let's head to number 8. And my number 8 is a game called Neuroshima Convoy. And here you can see me playing it against Max. Was a year ago, so we did some 2-player videos there. Really good one, really fun, and it's really simple. You only have 2 decks of cards, so one player will be the alien, the Moloch player, and one player will be the outpost, the humans. And the humans are trying to stop the alien convoy from sort of getting through all these cities. The tiles out here are sort of cities that you try to get through, destroy them to finally end up in New York, where if the aliens destroy New York and one little alien survives, then they win. The outpost, the humans, need to kill to get rid of all the aliens before that happens. And it's really cool because these 2 decks are asymmetrical. They're totally different in many ways. And so first time you're playing this, you don't really know what to expect. But when you played it a few times, you can sort of start to imagine that, well, he probably will save this card for later or play it now. And you can, yeah, it's really interesting, the whole meta in the game. And I should also say that this game is special in the way that you can see here, we're fighting over a column, basically over one city. So we place out the cards there, and those cards will meet each other. But we can also place out cards in for the future, for future battles, and the cards have different effects. So some of them have effects that happens right away. Some will sort of strengthen your soldiers and so on. Yeah, really fun game. And as you can see here, we have the New York over there, and we're trying to defend it from the bad aliens. Well, in this case, I'm the aliens. I don't remember how this went, but you can go check it out if you want to. Neuroshima Convoy, that is my number 8. And my number 7 is another game that I haven't filmed myself, so I'm just showing you the Board Game Geek page. This is a really cool one, Stronghold. This is a 2nd edition. I think I like the 1st edition in some ways in artwork and so on, but the 2nd edition sort of fixed a lot, streamlined a lot of stuff that was too complicated in the first one. But it's still a quite complicated game. It's quite mathy game. Thematically, it's really cool though, because one player is the humans and elves and so on, the good fantasy guys trying to defend the stronghold. You can think about Helm's Deep basically from Lord of the Rings. The other player is the attacker and has these orcs and goblins coming in hordes. They just come more and more, and they try to take down this castle. They only need to get one little goblin in there to win. Here we can see the sort of the castle or the stronghold courtyard with the different buildings and so on. The wall here that we're trying to defend. The elves here, the archers, are sort of nice little wooden meeples, but the attacker only has cubes for, so like the green ones, or I think they're goblins or orcs or whatever. They're probably orcs. And so the reason that there's only cubes for the attacker is that the attacker will draw them from a bag. So you're not supposed to feel what kind of troops you're drawing. But I think it's really cool in the sense that you really get this feeling when you're defending that you're getting overrun. There's so much people, so many monsters attacking you. And as the attacker, you get the feeling that you just keep, beating down on this stronghold, but you're never getting through. But you can get rid of the walls, like on this picture here. This wall missing here in the middle. So obviously it's underway here. And also it's really fun when the attackers have, like you can see over here, it has a catapult out here, where you draw a card and see if you hit. If you hit, you will start destroying the wall or killing off the defenders. The defenders need to train new soldiers, and when they get hit, they go to the medical. They need to get healed up, and yeah, there's a lot going on in this game. I really enjoy it. It's for 2 players only. It's sort of like you can play it with 4, and you can split it up, but that's just stupid. You want to play this as a 2-player game, and it's really nice. So Stronghold, I can really recommend this. This is my number 7. And my number 6 game to play with 2 players is Spirit Island. And this game is a cooperative game. You can play it, I think, up to 4 people, or solo. I like it solo as well, but I do like it a lot as two players because it's the more players you have, the more complex the game will be, and it will become, I guess. I haven't played it on four, but I guess it would take a long time. Maybe if everyone knows the game well, but still, there's so much to consider. All these cards that you play, that you have this hand management. Reminds me a bit about Gloomhaven, another one of my favorite games, where you're sort of playing cards for their effect, but then the cards are sort of in the discard pile, and then you need to do an action to pick them up again. And you're trying to defend this island from the nasty invaders coming. The AI basically is these invaders coming to invade the island and just destroy the fine nature of it and all that. And you're defending it. You're the spirits of the island, like on the as you can see here. I'm playing the water spirit that can sort of send some waves over to drown the invaders and all that. And you're trying to protect the lands and help out these little dahans, the natives, these little huts that look like mushrooms basically. And there's the Draco Glass Meeple as well. Play this with Draco in a two-player game. Yeah, really fun one and really tactical. Really, wow, there's so much going on to this game. There's so much going on with these cards, and they combo off each other. And if you play a certain amount of cards that have a special symbol, then you can trigger your effects, your innate abilities. Yeah, I really love this one. It's just climbing on my top list overall. And for two players, I think it's a really good one. Really fun cooperative game. So Spirit Island, can really recommend that one. And my number 5 is a game called Hero Realms. And here you can see me playing against Martin. Did this recently. We tried out the two different angles. So you can see Martin's side and my side. This is a deck builder. It builds on the Star Realms. That was a really popular game. So Hero Realms is basically the same thing, but it's in the fantasy environment. And also you have these different characters. So like here I'm playing the wizard, and then I start with this. I have a unique sort of starting deck that is for the wizard. Martin's playing the ranger, so he has his starting card for the ranger. And then we will, of course, in many deck builders, we will sort of buy cards from out here in the market to improve our decks. We will try to thin out our decks, get rid of some bad cards, and get more and more attack power. So finally we can destroy each other because we have like a health that is going down as we attack each other. And I think Hero Realms is really fun. And also I should mention that Hero Realms can also work as a co-op game if you have the expansion Ruin of Thandar. And there's another expansion coming late this year as well with more co-op stuff that I backed on Kickstarter. And so Hero Realms as a co-op game is really fun as well because, and I like it as two players as co-op as well, because then you're working together, you have the little storybook that you're reading from, and you have a boss or a few bosses that you need to beat in each scenario, and depending on how you do, if you do good or bad, you go to the next scenario depending on that. So there's a storyline that you will follow down a road, and yeah, you can play it more than once because you might end up in another scenario that you didn't do the first time. Really like Hero Realms, really enjoy it. I think it's really nice with these sort of small deck builders. This takes like 20-25 minutes if you play it competitively against another player. Yeah, so that's a good one. Hero Realms, my number 5. So my number 4 is a game called Endeavor Age of Sail. It came out just a few months ago actually, or 6 months ago. It was my top 1 game from 2018, so I really enjoy this one. And I do like it at 3 or 4 or 5 players as well, but 2 is my favorite player count. Because when you're playing 2, it's quite mean, but you have this dummy player, the little white discs that you can see out there, that you will use to block your opponent. Because in this game, it's an action selection. Like you see here, we have a building, and the building has a circle on it, so that's a place where I can place one of my discs as a worker to do an action, which could be to occupy, it could be to sail, it could be to trade, it could be to attack the other player as well. So in a 2-player mode, I do an action, and then I take the white disc and do the same action, but with the dummy player. And that means that, let's say I go sailing, of course I will place that sailing white disc in a way that blocks my opponent, and the same goes back to me, of course. So it can be quite mean. It's a lot of blocking. It's a lot about seeing where are your opponent going to go, what is he or she aiming for, and then just block that and take away the fun. But it is fun at the same time. And it goes back and forth. So yeah, I think for some reason, if it's a 2-player game, I don't mind sort of conflict that much. I don't like it in more when you play with 4 players. or 3 players and so on, because it could be 2 against 1 then, which doesn't feel okay. But in this kind of game where it's just like, if you play 2-player style, I don't mind that much. And I think it's very well done. This is the second printing, the Age of Sail, where they added a lot of stuff. And this is the deluxe version as well, which has a lot of nice components like these plastic tokens out here on the board. You try to get these tokens by placing your own discs on top of them and so on, to build up your economy, to build up your engine, and get better and better as the game goes on. And yeah, it's really nice, a lot of fun with this. And we have the exploits here as well. These are sort of extra added in the second edition here, where you get different exploit tiles, these 3 tiles, every time you play, so you get a sort of different feeling of the game and different goals you want to achieve. So really good Euro game. It's like 90 minutes, it's mid-weight, and that's perfect for me. I really enjoy Endeavor Age of Sail. And my number 3 for 2 players is Star Wars Rebellion, and I don't have a video of this yet. I should have, because I do have the game and the expansion, and I really like it. But it's a long game. At some point I will try to do a playthrough of this together with a friend, so we can really show how it works. This is like Star Wars in a box, it's been called. And yeah, it's the whole Star Wars universe basically. So I'll show you some pictures here. We have the galaxy. One player will be the Empire, and the Empire plays they both play a bit differently, because the Empire is trying to find the hidden rebel base and destroy it, and that's how they win. While the rebel is trying to just stay away and sort of, I mean, the rebel players really doesn't have a chance in the combat. So instead, you need to sort of be sneaky and try to avoid giving away your location for your base and defend it if that comes to that. But it's really interesting, because the Empire player plays sort of a deduction game where you scan the galaxy, and you have a little pad that you note down on, so you know where the rebel base is not. Then you're trying to move your fleets around and look for different spots it could be. It's really exciting. It's a long game though. It's like 4 hours. Most of the time I play this is 4 hours. There's an expansion as well that really helped the game out in combat and so on. You have these little markers you put out on the planet. You have all these plastic miniatures, and the artwork is great. Fantasy Flight Games, Star Wars, once again, just so good. Really enjoy this one. I want to play it more, but it takes a while, so it's hard to get to the table. But Star Wars Rebellion is a game that I really can recommend. So much cool stuff. If you love Star Wars, then you have to play this. This is the ultimate Star Wars game, and you sort of shape your own stories. So you have these known characters from the Star Wars universe, but what happens to them, and how you might capture Leia and freeze her instead of Han Solo. Yeah, there's so much cool stuff in this game. As you can see here, we have I just love it. Star Wars Rebellion. So let's head to number 2. So my number 2 for 2 players is Seven Wonders Duel. And especially with the expansion Pantheon, you really need that one. In the base game, it's sort of back and forth, but as you can see here, we have the gods up here in the Pantheon, and they will affect the game a lot. You can buy them, basically buy their favors and use special abilities from them. The base of the game is that you have this draft of cards. You're trying to build your wonders. You're trying to win either by military, as you can see the military marker here. You can win by science, by picking up a bunch of these science symbols, or you can win by points if the game goes to its end. So it's played over 3 ages, and in the ages we draft cards from an open display, which I really enjoy. This is something that more games should be doing, I think. I'll show you it here. There's the display where you can see the some cards are open, but as you take one of those, then you will flip one of those that was below it. So then your opponent might get that good card that was below, like I'm doing now, basically. Here I'm playing against Draco. In a run through. It was a while since I did this. You can see that on the of course the quality of the video isn't that good, but it works out, and I really recommend you to check this out if you haven't. Seven Wonders Duel with the Pantheon expansion, I should mention as well. Now let's head to my favorite 2-player game. What could it be? So my favorite two-player game, as some of you might have suspected already, it's Keyforge, and Keyforge is just such a wonderful two-player style game. This is a card game, came out a few months ago, and it's special in the way that every deck is unique, and you buy a deck and then you play the deck. You don't get to mix up cards in those decks, which I really enjoy, because I don't like deck building in the sense that you build your deck before you start playing the game. That's just boring to me. Instead, you get one of those decks, and the best way to play this, I think, is to play sealed, so you don't know before what kind of cards you have in there. And then you have 3 houses, 12 cards each, and there's 7 different houses, so there's a lot of combinations here. But you get 3 different houses, and the thing here is that you play on your turn. Like, the cards doesn't cost anything to play, but on your turn you have to call one house. So you say that you're gonna play like shadows. Then you can play cards from your hand that are shadows. You can activate cards that you already played earlier on that are out there, artifacts and creatures that are shadows. And you can discard cards from your hand that are shadows. So this is the really tricky part in this game. When you start playing it, it's quite tricky to, like, yeah, I want to use those great creatures that I have out there to fight or to reap. With reaping is to get amber so that you can forge the keys. So when you forge 3 keys, you win the game. But at the same time, I have these good creatures in my hand, or good cards in my hand, but those are not the same house. So you have to build up, you have to do the hand management and build up for good turns where you can get a lot of stuff done on your turn. And yeah, it's just so great. I mean, as this is my first playthrough I'm showing you here. I played against Draco. I was learning the game basically myself. Since then, I've done a lot of playthroughs, and I got myself a nice play mat and a bunch of decks as well. And I do this unboxings where I open decks. I do some deck analysis. That was hard to say. Where I talk about the deck and how good I think it is. And just today, as I'm filming this, I did a top, like, best of 3 matches versus Mats, where we had a lot of fun playing Keyforge, and we tried some new camera angles and all that. So check out the Keyforge playlist if you haven't, and if you are new to this game, I can really recommend you to check it out. I mean, I was really skeptical at first because I'm a board gamer. I'm not that fond of this sort of, I don't like collectible card games and all that, but this is not a collectible card game. This is just, you buy one deck and then you play against a friend who also had decks. So you buy 2 and you can play with anyone. And of course you might after a while feel like, yeah, I want to have more decks. That's natural, but you don't need to go chasing after booster packs to find certain cards and all that, because all the decks are okay. I mean, there's some that are better, some that are worse, but none of the decks are really, really bad. So there's always a way to play your deck in such a way that you can win. Really enjoy this one. Keyforge will be my top 2-player game for a long time, I think. And I mean, they announced new cards and all that, so that's coming as well. So I'm just stuck. I'm totally stuck. And so, thank you so much for watching this top 2-player games. Well, it's not games to play for 2 players list. And yeah, we're going to talk about more top 10 issues or subjects. Yeah, coming up. I'm a Swede, sorry. And there's going to be like co-op, there's going to be, I think, Euro games and thematic games and so on. So look forward to that as well. There's a lot of top 10 lists coming as well on the channel. And don't forget to support your favorite YouTubers. So go check out my Patreon, where you can support. Even $1 or $2 helps out, so I can get better equipment, so I can go to conventions and do convention coverage and all that. So check that out with the eye up there. You can click the link to check out my Patreon there as well. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening or morning, or whenever you're watching. Take care. Bye-bye.
Be like Draco. Follow Board Games with Niramas on Facebook at BGW Niramas. Board Games with Niramas is sponsored by Alara Games in Sweden.